If your Google Merchant Center account is suspended for sale of services, or if you are trying to avoid that type of a suspension, this video is for you. And my name is John from StubGroup. We are a digital marketing agency, a premier Google partner, and the #1 resource in the world for fixing Google suspensions and policy issues. So this sale of service suspension is something we've actually seen pop up more frequently recently. I think Google's going through a spate of them. And it pertains specifically to Google Merchant Centers. So Google has a different set of policies around what you're allowed to advertise via Merchant Centers than they do via regular Google Ads accounts. And there are some things they have no problem with you advertising through regular text ads and things like that from your ad account that they don't allow through shopping campaigns and feed-based Performance Max campaigns that pull from Google Merchant Centers. So let's start with what is this sale of service policy? It is listed under Google's unsupported shopping content list of policies. And there's a number of types of content that you're not allowed to advertise through Google Shopping. And one of those is services. So specifically, the examples that Google gives here, the specificity they give is labor, time, effort, expertise, or actions which do not result in ownership of a tangible product. This includes any services sold bundled with physical goods, and there's one kind of carved out exception related to medical devices. So examples are maintenance or repair services, accounting services, financial planning, etc. Also like car repair services that are sold bundled with the purchase of tires, as an example. So think of it as, hey, I'm advertising something, it's in my Google Merchant Center, and I'm bundling some service, some non-physical good component of that in the price. So I think that the car tires is a great example where, hey, there is a physical product as part of it, but then you're also saying, hey, we're also going to sell the service of replacing these tires. And that is bundling a service with the sale of physical goods, which violates this policy from Google. You also have situations where people might try to actually sell a service through Google Shopping. This is why you don't see ads for accountants or lawyers or things like that within Google Shopping, because those are services. Those are not physical, tangible goods. Now, there's a little bit of a nuance here also with digital goods, and that's kind of a separate conversation, a separate policy that we can have where things do get a little bit murky there. But what Google is looking for is making sure that what you advertise in the product description, in the price, on the product page of what you're running in Google Merchant Center does not bundle a service as part of the offering. So what can you do if you do offer services as part of your business model along with physical goods? Well, there's a couple of different approaches. First of all, what's most important is what you are selling from the product page that you are sending people to from Google Merchant Center. So something you could explore would be, hey, if people come from your shopping ads to a product page, you do not bundle any type of services there. You are only selling the physical goods. Now, this is kind of a gray area because if Google sees that elsewhere, let's say people coming from your text ads, different landing pages, that they can see bundled services along with your goods, they may still flag that because people can get to those pages from the product pages you're using your shopping campaigns. So this is kind of a gray area. I would argue you are following Google's policies by not having services be any part of what people can get to when they come from your product pages. But because they can still go to the rest of your website and Google does crawl the entirety of your website, you could still have issues here. So a safer approach would be having separate websites entirely. So you could have, different business models, different approaches, and in one approach that you advertise from regular text ads and whatnot, you can bundle in services, and that's completely fine. That's not against Google's policies. There's nothing wrong with that. And then use your separate website where you only have the physical, tangible goods side of things and use that for your shopping campaigns. That would not be circumventing Google's systems from my perspective, because you're abiding with their policies for the different platforms, different types of campaigns, and you're not doing anything sketchy or wrong. You're just, structuring things to abide with their policies. So that is one approach that you could take. Now, it's also very possible that you've gotten flagged and you don't provide any kind of services, and so you believe you've been incorrectly flagged. And in situations like that, there's a couple of recommendations that I'll make for trying to prove to Google that you're not offering services. First of all, say that. very explicitly on your product pages. So have disclaimers on your product pages and in your website footer, so it's accessible from everywhere on the website, saying what you don't do. We only sell this, we don't provide any services related to this, all you get is the tangible goods, etc. So be as explicit as possible. That could help. Secondly, look for keywords in your product titles, your landing pages, descriptions, etc., that could be perceived as being service related by Google. Because remember, most of Google's reviews are automated. It's not humans usually who are looking at pages. Sometimes they do as part of policy reviews, but a lot of it is AI and automation. And so if you have words that maybe have multiple meanings or could easily be misinterpreted as relating to services, consider removing those keywords to make sure that Google's system is not mistakenly flagging your pages or your products for this sale of service suspension type. And then other things I would say to look at to try and avoid this would be make sure you're using the right Google product category in your feed. This can get tricky because they only have so many options in their taxonomy, and there are plenty of products that don't quite nicely fit into everything available, but try and get as close to accurate as you can. That can help. And then in addition, look at your shipping and make sure that the shipping settings in Merchant Center lines up with what you have on your website. Make sure you have a unique shipping policy page on your website that outlines your shipping policies, and make sure there's nothing that can be construed in there to think that there is some kind of service add-on or component. And make sure that everything is accurate. Make sure there's nothing in the checkout process where it looks like there's some additional fees or line items added that are related to services, and just try and avoid any possible things that could trigger Google, either their automated reviews or their manual reviews, to think that you are in some way bundling services with your goods. And I would say from my experience, Google doesn't always get this right. We have seen incorrect flags where Google has suspended merchant centers for sale of service, and clearly there is no service being sold through the website. So they do sometimes get it wrong, and you got to work through it and appeal things. And sometimes they get it right, and you need to change up your model or structure in some of the ways that I suggested in this video to make sure that you do comply with Google's policies. And if you need any help with sale of services or any other Google Ads policy issues or running campaigns or just help with marketing in general, we'd love to help. Reach out through StubGroup.com and let's chat.